We are live.
Hockey Nation fans, welcome back to another special edition of the Hockey Nation Live Show. This is your coach Francis, directly from the booth this morning, and we have to go not on the West Coast. We have to stop in Texas because my co-host is right there in Austin, Texas, and Michael DeVellano. Happy Friday, Michael.
Happy Friday, Pierre. And we have a special guest again today from the Everett Silvertips, my friend Zed Malenica, who is the BC scout, or one of our scouts in BC, right, Zed?
Right, one of them.
Yeah,
Awesome.
You need lots of scouts in BC, Pierre, because there's a lot of hockey going on.
Yeah, that's a great province to play hockey anyway. So it's great to be around there. Hopefully the COVID did not stop you to do something over there.
It's probably stopped a lot, right?
Yeah, all our minor hockey's been basically shut down. The junior team, so I watch also the BC Hockey League for Everett, and it started up and then it got shut down, and then it's going to start up again, but we weren't allowed to have any fans in the stands or anything like that. So it's been a rough year from a scouting standpoint. But the opposite is I've been watching a lot more NHL than I've ever have, just because there's nothing else to watch right now, especially in BC.
I'm sure.
Zed, you probably don't know that, or Pierre, you don't know this, but Zed has a pretty long-standing Hockey Canada hockey academy, right, or a hockey school.
Right. So part of my thing is I'm a PE teacher as well and then I do the everything on the side. But one of our goals was I wanted to start up a Hockey Canada Skills Academy at our school. So in 1999, Hockey Canada did an open air summit about what to do with hockey development in Canada and how to improve it. And one of the things that came up, and it was partly Wayne Gretzky's idea as well, was Hockey Canada Canadian kids were just playing too many games and not enough practices. So as you guys both know, in Canada, it's so hard to get ice time after school. So how do we get more practice times than to bring it into the schools? So Hockey Canada started a pilot project, I think around 2001 or 2, and it really took off. So then at the time, we were the 50th in Nanaimo to have a Hockey Canada Skills Academy. And now there's over 150 across Canada.
Wow.
And the whole idea is it's supposed to be affordable. So for $850 for a high school semester, so that's 3 practices a week for an hour. And then we get a fitness trainer come in, and then their Fridays is kind of a classroom day. They get extra training, and it's no games. It's just strictly to help the Minor Hockey Association. So we've been really fortunate. We've got 2 ex-NHL guys. Ben Walter, people know his dad, Ryan Walter, but Ben played a bit in the NHL, and Dave Lifton, he's an Ontario guy that was a second-round pick of the Colorado Avalanche. So those 2 guys are my coaches out on the ice with me, and it's been great. And we've been doing this for 15, 16 years now. It's been a lot of fun.
That's amazing. And have you seen kids kind of progress and go to different levels after that?
For sure. I mean, we've seen kids go all the way from playing here to playing major junior. So and then the kids come back on the ice, if they're of high school age after their junior careers or junior seasons done, they're coming on the ice and skating. And the nice thing we got about it, honestly, is it's all different skill levels. So we have everyone from a recreational player to a major junior player sometimes on. And the whole idea for us is just it's strictly individual skill development and, skating, passing, shooting, receiving, those types of things. And it's just to make people better. And for us, it's really neat to see the development in the kids.
That's always fun, right, Pierre? We love it. It's like you get the opportunity to see someone at 12, 13, 14, and then like, oh, look, that guy's somewhere doing something. He's still playing.
Yeah.
That's what you love. All right. So we you mentioned that you one of the leagues you scout is the BC Hockey League.
Yeah.
I don't know if people necessarily know what that is. Can you kind of give a little background on the BC Hockey League and maybe the connection to NCAA there?
Sure. So the BC Hockey League is a Tier 2 Junior A league in Canada. We've been fortunate in Nanaimo. The Nanaimo Clippers are a big Junior A team, probably well known throughout Canada. They've had some unbelievable teams, long-standing reputation in the league. The league really right now is really geared toward NCAA, and they actually get a lot of different players. They have a lot of American kids coming in there now to play a year or two in the league and then go back and get an NCAA scholarship. There's been some unbelievable players. Paul Correa, when Gary Davidson coached,
Right.
just to throw a name there.
That's a big name.
Yeah, but it's a very good league. And then my job as a scout there is just to look at if there's maybe there's kids that played in the Western League that come back down. And then if we need a player, they go, hey, there's this guy playing here or there. Or I'm looking at players maybe that were passed over before, or you just never know, right? So like Alvin Backus always says, keep going to the rink and it'll show you. So, it's just one of the leagues we look at and we try to, you always find players.
Yeah. Who are you now? Some of the players that are coming in, it's a little bit of a weird year for us in the WHL. Is there anyone that you're looking forward to seeing on ice, even though it's a limited season?
Well, you know what? I'm always curious to see how all the rookies are going to do that we've brought in. And I always think of it as a we for all us scouts and everyone's bringing players in, and then Gary and Alvin and Mike, our GM, director of player personnel, and our head scout. At the end of the day, they're making the calls on players. So, really, I'm just looking forward to seeing how all the rookies are doing and all the players that are new to Everett. To see, usually we have a training camp to see how they're doing, and really, this is the great unknown. Guys have almost, they're on the team right now and they're going for it. So it'll be really fascinating to see how the 24 game season plays out. And I think just how teams play it, do they play it more as a development, or are they going to play to win? And I'm sure everyone's going to play to win to a certain point, but when does the development kick in as well? So it's going to be fascinating to see how it goes for me.
I think we're playing 24 games starting this weekend is our first game, right?
Yeah.
It's only in the US division, so it's Seattle, Portland, Tri-City, and Spokane.
Yeah. And Portland, or did you say Portland?
I think I said Portland first, or maybe not, but definitely Portland.
Yeah.
So it's weird because normally I feel like, I don't know what you feel. Last 2 years were kind of unfortunate because I thought we had a really good team in a national sense. Like I thought we would have a shot at going to the Memorial Cup or even winning a league title.
Well, for sure. I think when the shutdown happened for COVID, I think Everett was ranked 5th in Canada.
Yeah,
so we were, going for it. Gary did a great job of getting players that were playoff ready. We went for it. We went for it the last 2 years. And then, unfortunately, this happened throughout the world. Who could ever see a pandemic coming? So, it'll be interesting. That's about as what I'm just curious where everybody's mind's at as well. And how do the kids come back? Some haven't played, I think certain provinces have been in complete lockdown. I believe, especially Manitoba, but Alberta and Saskatchewan in different types of lockdowns. BC, we were fortunate in the sense that the kids could at least train. So the arenas were open for practice and the gyms were open. So those were two advantages for the BC kids, as opposed to, especially Manitoba was really hit hard.
It's so strange, though, why they would do that. You would think that in Manitoba it wouldn't be such an issue. It's such a small, population-wise, it's not very big, is it?
No, but they were doing extremely well in the summer. I know they I don't think they even had a case, and then something happened and it just spiraled out of control.
Bummer.
Yeah.
So what have you seen? I mean, you've been around. How long have you been with Everett, by the way? Is it 10 years or 7 years? Or?
Yeah, it's been ever since Gary came in. So when Gary Davidson came in, and so I think we're going on 10 years right now.
Wow. Yeah, that goes fast. Because I might be 7 or 8 now.
Yeah.
I mean, we were building the tier 2 and the tier 1 program before that.
Yeah.
And then I got to move over with you guys, which was pretty exciting change for me. What have you seen in that time that's changed in the game?
Well, it really has changed so much. And I heard your interview with Gary on the podcast, and it's so true. You almost have to change the way you think and look at players. For me, the skill of the game, the kids are just so fast, so quick. I mean, we were just talking before we came about Zegras. I mean,
oh yeah,
the hands, the lacrosse style goals that these kids attempt now are just unbelievable. They don't even think twice about doing it. Everyone can skate now. Right. I know before, especially when I used to play junior, it was, he skates pretty well for a big guy. Right. Like that was a comment. Friend who would understand that. Where, we used to say, he skates pretty good for a French guy. Or sorry, for a big guy.
I think it was Czech. I think you said Czech wrong.
Yeah. And but the game is just so quick now. Everyone skates so fast, and the hands. For me,
so it's interesting to me because I think someone showed that if you look at the top 15 NHL scorers, I think 11 of them are U.S. born players or non-Canadian anyway. It's like McDavid's one, and then you got a German guy, and then you got a mix of mostly U.S. and a couple other Russian, maybe one Russian, 2 Russian. So are you concerned about what's going on with the development? Like you're firsthand, you're in there. Are you still seeing, players keep up with the game? Like, are they developing the same way the game is? Or, what are you seeing out there? Because you're on the ground.
Yeah, I'm not worried. I think it's part of the evolution of the game. I mean, the game's becoming worldly popular, which is great. And I mean, that's everybody's goals. Especially with the NHL now going back on ESPN, I think it's going to get even more popular in the States. I think for me, Canada, we're doing a great job developing players. I think just other places are catching up throughout the world. I think there's ebbs and flows. Personally, I think there's ebbs and flows. We'll have certain years you'll have a lot of maybe Americans or European players in the top, and then other years you're going to have the the McDavids and different stars come out for Canada as well. So I just think it's the evolution of the sport, honestly.
Now, speaking of that, we have a couple of interesting players that are coming through the pipeline. One's in the East Coast, which you probably haven't been able to see yet, which is Shane Wright. I don't know if you've watched him at all.
I've watched highlights of him, and I've heard the talk. It's exciting to hear about what this kid's doing.
What I thought was interesting was his line mate Zade Wisdom got drafted very high, I think because he was on his line, but we forget Shane was 16.
Yeah.
But the other player that you might have seen more, and maybe you can talk about, is a player that maybe people haven't heard of yet, which is Connor Bedard. And he was the first exceptional player, I think, in the West, right? Ever?
Yeah, he's the first one ever. He's what we just talked about, the new dynamic, skilled, extremely quick, smart. He just does things at a different level. And when you watch him, we've all been watching him, especially as a first-year bantam, and you're going, oh man, this guy's super exciting. We should take him, right? And you go, oh, he's still got another year before their bantam draft in the Western Hockey League. And then he comes, and then as a bantam, he played midget.
Right.
So he played on one of the better major midget teams, or the U18 teams out here for West Vancouver Academy. And he was their top player. He I saw some highlights and the kids were showing me at our academy where he steps on a puck and does a spin around. Like it's just things you never think about. Like it's just, I'm of a certain age where, basically we back in the day it was just about dropping getting the puck in the corner. Nothing fancy, don't get turnovers. This kid's willing to try anything. And that to me, it just makes hockey better when you got kids that are willing to be creative and willing to try different things. And Connor Bedard is a real special player. And he's doing this as a 15-year-old. You're looking at no, it's unbelievable.
And so for people that maybe don't follow so closely, this is the WHL, which is the Western Hockey League, part of the Canadian Hockey League. So it's 3 leagues.
Yeah.
And they play for a national championship. Normally, players in this league are 16 to 20 and heavily 17, 18, 19.
Yeah.
So for a 15-year-old to be able to step up and be a goal and an assist a game so far, and doing it in not by accident, he scored some pretty highlight reel goals already. I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's an exciting player to watch that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, he's special player that everyone throughout the world will hear about for sure.
I don't know if you want to talk about one of the phenomena that I think has happened in British Columbia are the sports schools. And I don't know if for people that aren't familiar with it, because they're maybe more East Coast or in the US, what's going on there? What's the deal with is it CSSHL, right? I always get it.
Yeah. Canadian Sports School Hockey League. Yeah. You know what? It's so weird. It's 2 trains of thoughts. Some people may think it's the best thing that ever happened because maybe you get higher level coaching. You don't get maybe certain associations have had problems finding coaches. So now they go to a sports school where you have high level coaches. On the flip side of things, from a minor hockey point, they'll say it's killed minor hockey associations in BC. And for me, I see it on both sides. I actually helped run our North Island Silvertips, which was we played in the major midget league. Yeah. So when they were kind of a competition in a way to the sports school leagues. But this year I stepped away from it just to kind of focus in on more other things. But it's a tough one for me. I think the hockey's unbelievable. They have some very skillful kids, and you would expect that when kids from around the country are coming to different academies to play.
Right. It's tough, right? Because we all believe in minor hockey.
Yeah.
And I think we want the game to be super accessible, and it's not cheap going to these schools.
No.
And we see families do crazy things to leverage themselves to go and do it if they don't have the money. But
yeah, and that to me, it's the one thing that tears me as a just a person is seeing kind of the slow death in a way of certain minor hockey associations. You'd like that. As a kid growing up, the biggest thing was playing for our city in Nanaimo and playing against our rivals, which for us is usually a team on the island, a different association. But, those days seem to be changing. And is it the evolution of the sport? I'm not sure. Are we the beginner? Are we the pioneer in BC of it changing throughout? I know in Toronto, the GTL is, the best league, best midget in all the world. So I don't see that.
Touch that.
But it's what's happening. I don't know. Did BC hockey not change with the times early enough? We have strict rules back where a kid maybe that was in a small community couldn't go and play for a tier 1 association, let's say, which I think was unfair.
Yeah.
So, and then I think that helped to bring about the academies. But
I would agree with you. I think that was I feel like that's the problem. We talked about this last night in context of the U.S. development program.
Yeah.
And if you're a great player and you're playing with guys that they're not another level, it doesn't push the kid. And he's
Right.
not going to get opportunity to play against the best players. And it's nice to practice, but you also need that competition, I think.
Yeah, and you know, I like how, especially I read an article about the GTL where a person can try out anywhere, and then if they get cut from a team, they can go to the next team down even. And that always made sense to me, why somebody in a small little association playing tier 3 hockey can't come and play in a bigger city and try against the best competition at the time. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm with you on that. And so I think that helped to lead the change that we're seeing throughout.
It's interesting. I mean, there are a lot of good players coming through there, and I think that there's a positive and a negative side to it, but we definitely don't want to see the death of associations in minor hockey. That's an important part of things.
For sure. It's the lifeblood of every Canadian city.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
And talk about, because you mentioned BC hockey. So in US we have USA Hockey, and then you've got state-based associations, and in Canada we have provincial under Hockey Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And then within that, in BC they've also done something unique with BC Hockey. And you mentioned the Major Midget League. Maybe talk a little bit about that and how that's tried to combat what's going on. And I think they've tried to move that down to bantam, right? Haven't they?
Yeah, they have. So I think you're right. I think they're part of the idea was, hey, let's try to get kids to stay closer to home. So BC Hockey started, and I think it's been great. The Major Midget League, they've started, I think it's got to be at least 15 years ago, maybe more. And then a couple years ago, they brought in, they called it minor midget. So it was for first year midgets that weren't quite ready to make the jump to major midget, because in midget you have three years to play. So they had a minor midget team, and then last year or 2 years ago was the first year they went down to bantam. And so they had a bantam team as well. And it plays it's a provincial league with loose sponsorship from the Western Hockey League. So every team is called after a West Division. So we're the Silvertips, just by fluke that I worked with Everett.
Yeah, it's so funny because no association really, I think, right?
No. And then, the other in Victoria, the South Island team is called the Royals, and etc. So Okanagan's called the Rockets, that kind of thing, for all the different Western League teams. And it's a great, they run it first class. The kids have charter buses. It's 2 to a room when they're in the hotels. It's really run very well.
That's awesome.
And BC Hockey's done a good job, I think, with running that program. And it's developing a lot of players.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, sorry.
Pierre, do you have any questions for Zed?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You said earlier about like everybody can skate, everything like that. What are you going to make your mind about a specific player versus another one? If everybody skate pretty well right now, what is your prioritize main focus to pick this one versus to another one?
You know what? Whenever kids sometimes ask me when we're at the academy, what are you guys looking for as scouts and stuff? I always say the first thing for me is someone's got to do something to stand out. I once had Bill Beswick is a legendary Menominee Clipper coach in town here, and I remember him. I used to always have him come as a guest speaker, and he always would tell the kids, "Tell me something that you do well." And the last thing he'd tell the kids, I don't want somebody to say, "Oh, I don't know." No, say something. Maybe you're the best face-off guy. Maybe you're the best kid in the dressing room. Something, if you're not on the ice. So for me, I'm always looking for something that the kids do, that someone's got to stand out to me. So usually what I try to do when I don't ever look at stats, especially early on. I want a kid to jump out at me, out on the ice when I'm watching them. So what is that person doing to stand out? It could be that he's great in his own end. maybe he's great on the draws or something. But the Matthew Barzals, anyone, you don't need to know a thing about hockey, and you would know in bantam that kid is special. So it's the other kids that maybe are late bloomers that, those are the ones that fascinate me. Is, does that kid have the potential to really become a good player? And so that to me, I'm just looking for someone to stand out.
It makes sense. What is your approach to know more? Because maybe not at this level or your level. Maybe I'll be wrong here, but if you talk about the NFL 360, if you talk that they have a combine and they have an opportunity to meet the players and talk about their behavior, their student, if you talk that. Do you have that kind of opportunity when you scout some players like this in the area?
Yeah. So for us, with Everett, especially if we're in an area, so any area guys for me would be considered, especially the island. So the Vancouver Island has around 1 million people, just under. I think we're around 900,000. And then the lower mainland. So Vancouver is a huge hockey hotbed. So we're considered, loosely my area. So I try to do background checks on the kids. You ask people in different communities, if you've been doing this as long as we have, you usually know people in different towns, so you can ask around, and then just meeting the kid and the parents if you can, and just try to get a read on the type of person he is. And for me, especially, maybe it's because I'm a teacher as well, but character is a big thing to me. It really is. And I think teams and playoffs go somewhere with kids that we have a team full of good character. So that to me I think it's a really important part of scouting is trying to get to know who you're drafting or who you're signing.
And maybe this question, both of you, is when the season start, or what's the number? Like you have maybe 200 players, 500 players, then you have to shrink everybody. Like how many at the beginning and at the end you list drop to how many? Like how many do you drop during the season, or how many do you have to bring on the table? Everything like that. I'm just curious about that.
Like 150, 200 usually, right? Like for the
yeah.
list, but the scouts are being combined to the head scout typically, and then they're making their own list. They just look at our stuff, right, Zed?
Yeah. So the head scout would make basically at the end, usually pre-COVID, we would all go to our draft, and it was last 2 years. It was held in Red Deer, usually in Calgary, somewhere around there, and we would just go meet and we would hash out a list for our draft, and usually we finish up about 125 players, about that. Hey, Mike, somewhere in there. But during the season, during every game, it depends on who you're watching. There may be, you may watch a game and you don't do one report because there's nobody to report on. But sometimes you may watch, some of the sports school teams or the major teams that are loaded, and you do reports on 20 kids. So I think it really depends on what you're seeing, who you're seeing, and it kind of their play dictates. I was telling Mike, my family's Croatian, and I saw, excuse me, I saw an interesting thing about Croatian soccer from one of the development guys, and he on a podcast, and one of the things he said is he told the players to go out on the grass. There's your money. So I kind of relate it to hockey. It's true. Like, look, your money's out on the ice. So you have to show us what you have. I thought it was a great saying, right? Go out on the grass.
I have to remember that.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, Pierre, because last year was our first time doing a US specific draft. And then we have an import draft as well, where we're drafting players from all around the world outside of US and Canada. So it could be Czech, it could be Russian, it could be Finns. And we've had all of those. And then that is a draw in the upcoming one. Have we announced the results of that yet, Zed? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No.
I would be curious about like I love the hockey and I'm really a coach mindset and I'm not sure I can be a good scout. So my question to you will be, what do you like when you scout? Like what is like, because you do like, I'm impressed because you are PDI, you're a teacher, and then after that you teach hockey on the one side, then you scout. And for me, when I watch hockey, I don't watch the puck. I'm watching like the 16. I have no puck. What's going, what he's doing, how the system works, and how they make the. That's I'm really deep on that part. But scouting, as I'm not sure I would be able to scout. So my question to you is that how do you see yourself become a scout? But what do you enjoy the most when you scout the team or
Yeah.
player?
And that's a good point because I used to coach, especially my son in minor hockey. You have to totally get away from worrying about systems, about anything. I just go there now to watch players. And you have to, usually in hockey, we have a passion when we're coaching to win. And you're just overblown with winning and losing. For me, when I go to scout now, I could care less who wins and loses. It's more about I'm watching, I may go to watch let's say one of our kids that we've got drafted. I'm watching to see his development, and you're really focused in on his feet or his hands or his puck retrieval. How does he handle pressure? That kind of thing. So, you know what? The game kind of changes when you scout. And what I do like about scouting is, first off, you're at the rink watching people play and just seeing kids develop. But also, I think I like going there. Personally, I like going to watch by myself so I don't get disturbed. So it's just a nice kind of place to go get away from things, to worry about the outside world. And you kind of come in there and watch and focus in on kids. And that's the biggest thing I think we all miss when you can't come to the arena. But for sure, it's totally different than coaching now because you just got to step away from that whole thing. And it was a change for me because I was watching it and, you're watching their power play setup and you're going, no, this isn't what I should be worried about. So it totally different.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. My next question is about like how do you because I think I asked you this for to Gary too, but me and you and Gary, because my son Michael is a baby with us, but versus us, but we are hockey for over 30 years. But what the technology? I think the word is technology. Make you what? How much do you use now compared was before, and what this technology bring to you? Have a better, maybe a better way to see the game or to see more players, everything like that.
Well, I think I'm a bit old school and for me, I still love just going to the rink to see the people, the players, because you see all the things behind the scenes. I always like sitting across from the benches because this is still the part of the coaching in me. I still like to see when the kid makes a mistake that if the coach comes and talks to him, how does the kid react to it? So I kind of always still like to see that part of it. And, in technology for videos and stuff, you just can't see that. I tried during COVID times to watch a few games, especially Bantam. It's so hard because the camera work isn't like in junior or in the NHL. So that was really hard. Um, the other things like the numbers, they don't really have that for us in Bantam. So for us, when we're scouting amateur kids, it's hard. But in junior now they have the Corsi and everything. So, you know, I think there's good in everything. It's just you need to learn to react to it. I was watching the Blue Jays in the playoffs there, and they're big on numbers and their pitcher's only going to pitch certain amount. Same with Tampa Bay. And I heard a great stat from somebody. The guy goes, "Yeah, these Corsi numbers are for a 162 game season in baseball, But it doesn't mean it on a one game playoff that if the pitcher's hot, we don't keep them. Trust your eye sometimes too. So I think there's good and bad in everything, and it's just a matter of being able to pick and choose what is important and what isn't.
I agree with that. Like I feel like one thing that analytics has done is it's brought in a different type of fan, Pierre. And I know you've had dipped your toes in analytics, but I have to agree with Zed. Like I look at numbers. Like I definitely think statistics matter. I think I'm not sure if I buy into Corsi all the time, but it's information.
Mm-hmm.
And I like what Zed said about sitting across from the bench. I actually really like when we have either a camp or an opportunity to jump on the bench with the kids or be in the room, because I learn a lot about them, how they interact with each other, how they respond to adversity, how they respond to being asked to do something. And I think you learn a lot about them that way. And I don't think you can't get any of that from video, and you can't talk to coaches directly. Like you see the coach will tell you one thing and their body language says another about the player.
Right, for sure. Yeah.
So how many players do you have on your roster, like a WHL? And after that, or my question would be, how many can you allow to get like European players versus the rest of the team?
You're saying how many European players we have?
Yeah. You have a limit or something like that?
Two imports. And then, like I was mentioning, we go through a draft. So you may or may not take your pick in the draft. It just depends on the, what your current import situation is. I think we will be taking someone in the next draft. Absolutely. But we have two very good imports that are not going to join us for the season. One is Casper Pudio. So if you watch the World Juniors, he was probably the number 2 or number 3 defenseman on Finland.
Mm-hmm.
He got drafted by Florida. No, did Tampa draft him?
You know what? I don't know. I'm not.
Florida drafted Casper, didn't he? I can't remember. I'll look it up. And then the other player that was our import was Michael Gut, and he was on the Czechoslovakian team. So it's the thing about the import draft is you're going up against every other Canadian Hockey League team. It's not just the WHL, whereas our draft in the WHL is just specific Western territory in the US and Canada. So you're picking either top, 1 through 60 is very different than 1 through 20. And it's very different because we don't get to see those guys, right? So we actually we should invite him on. We have a European scout who comes to the draft actually quite a bit, right? Have you met our Euro scout, Zed?
No.
Oh yeah, he's a great guy. He's awesome. He knows. I think he's in Switzerland, but he knows the Slovakian guys, Pierre. He knows the Czech guys. He's got the dope on all of them. But it's interesting because you also have to rely on agents for the imports. It's kind of weird.
Do you want to jump on the question you got?
Yeah. So we had NHL Hockey News reports. One of the guys that joins us, and he's asking Zed, who is the player that you were most impressed by between Juleson, Sherbak, Fairbrother? Because those are all Montreal draft picks.
Yeah. I've been impressed with all three of them. I would say Juleson probably because I watched him the closest as a first-year bantam, a small, a wiry kid, and you just see him grow up to become the 6'2" man-child that he became. He was a first-round pick of Montreal, same with Sherbak. Fairbrother was 4th round. Am I third? Yeah. So, and Fairbrother's going to be a very good. And I watched Gianni as well. Great players, smart, just keeps getting better. All three, but I would say Juleson probably more because I saw him a lot more throughout. Then he played major midget hockey. You could just, he kept taking steps for me. And then Sherbak, I remember Sherbak's very first game in Everett. I think he scored the game-winning goal in overtime. He was just a monster. I think he scored three goals that game. He was just, He just came. He was unbelievable. And
But
then Gianni's just a
sorry,
solid player.
Gianni's like he's just like stoic. I don't know if stoic's the right word, but just like you trust him.
Yeah, he's gonna. You know what? He's gonna be a great Montreal Canadian. He's he's a leader with us in Everett. He was a leader. He was actually playing here for the Nanaimo Clippers during the pause.
Right. Oh wow.
So I got to. Unfortunately, I couldn't go in and watch, but I talked to the Clipper coach there, Darren Naylor, and he goes, "Yeah, what a great kid! Just an unbelievable kid." And that's what we know. And for me, when we go back about character, Gianni had that. We saw it as a Bandam that he had it. He had that something special. And I think Montreal, excellent scouting to get him in the third round. That's a steal. And I'm super excited to see what he's going to be like as a pro.
I want to go back on Juleson for a sec, because Noah, to me, he had an unfortunate accident in the AHL with the puck in the eye, and I think that really derailed him a little bit. But he's such a very character guy, tough to play against one-on-one, and he has a little bit of offense. And I really think that, hopefully he gets the right opportunity in Florida, and if not there, then somewhere else, because he's more than capable, in my opinion, if he's healthy, of being a top 4D in the NHL.
100%. I mean, Montreal wouldn't have taken a first-round pick on him if they didn't think he's a top 4 guy. You just don't pick bottom pairing guys in the first round. So, I mean, yeah, he's got the potential. It's, hockey, unfortunately, it's like winning the lottery sometimes. The players that can stay healthy, and also you got to have a coach that believes in you. Right. So wherever you go, I tell the young guys that too. It's, you know what? It's a marathon, not a sprint. So sometimes, it may just not work for you. And if you can stay healthy and just keep going on, you got a chance.
So, you're right about that. I think also defensemen take a little bit longer. I think you have to be a little bit more patient with them. They're not going. It's rare that someone like a Dallin or some kid like under 20 make the NHL, everything like that. I'm you can see I'm a big fan from Montreal, so I know from A to Z, from 1988 for and 18 for right now. But my point to you is like, I see him after that. Noah here in Florida. I live here close to the Panthers. I work with the youth travel over there here, and I think. Because I follow you guys, and I said, it's not only an opportunity, also because the coach, you have to believe on you, and you have to have the right coach to give you that opportunity. Because right now he's stuck like defense number 7, 8 right now in Florida, and I believe he's better to Stillman. But again, sometimes maybe too kind of player like who he is, and now he's on the shot of the maybe 4 or 5 behind now because. Maybe he was more physical. Maybe he would be more in the lineup right now because maybe Florida need a kind of player like that. Does it make sense what I'm talking about? Like
100%
capable of playing that style. I don't know what you think, Zed. I just think that maybe I don't know if he's gun shy or what the effect of the injury is, but
I don't think he's gun shy. I think he's, what he is for me, he's a real smart player. Nick Lidstrom is maybe one of the best one-on-one D-man ever. He never had to hit anybody. He had a great stick. I mean, the game just changes all the time, and it's so quick, like we talked about. But I think Noah can play any style, personally.
That's what I think too.
I'm sorry I got on you because now you just turned my lights on right now. Because I'm watching him. Michael can tell you I'm watching about 60 games per week. So listen, I see Aaron Eggblend for the Panthers this year get his best season, right? And Michael said his skating is better every time that. But you just turn the lights on. He's not more physical. He's not skating better. He learned to put his stick at the right spot. He learned to be at the right position, square his shoulder maybe, to turn his hip at the right place every time that. He learned the details of the game and not only the 1 or 2 things area where he was good. And I think that's the right thing. You're absolutely right about Lindstrom. He never go through. Like, I would give you another player. The 50-50 battle. You don't need to be physical to get by the puck in the corner. Pavel Datsyuk, he was maybe the best player to pick up the puck in the corner, and he was not the biggest players, but he find a way to get the puck out because he was using the smart he was, and that's how it's about those kind of players. But my question is, because you, what do you believe? Because you guys, you know him very well. Why Sherbak he never been the player he was in the junior, and what make him become who he is right now? Whatever it is, like, is it like behavior? Is it the everything else? Because I believe he was a great. You know, you see him in junior, he was great players. He have a great tools on his hands.
Man, he looked like, sometimes I looked at him, I go, he looks like a baby Malkin. Because
I'm with you.
But, you know, I don't know, Zed, I'll let you comment and I'll comment.
Well, you know, isn't that the $1 million question? Really, is why do certain stars or in junior make it and others don't? You know what? I think if I knew that answer, I wouldn't be doing this podcast here with you here. I'd be leaving somewhere making a lot of money. I think, I don't know. I think it goes back to, for me, it's either the development somewhere for him. It just didn't happen. I just don't know, because I saw the same thing. I saw a guy that was about 6'2", could skate like the wind, who had a rocket of a shot. When you go, okay, when you're thinking, who checks boxes? Check, right? So I don't know what happened there. Did he get hurt? I don't know. I mean, you know, honestly, Coach, you would know better because you're a big Montreal Canadiens fan. I'm a Kings fan, and he came to the Kings.
Yeah.
For a year, and I thought, wow, hopefully he turns it around in LA. You know, they need scoring, and it just, I don't know, it just didn't seem like the same guy I saw before.
My feeling on him, he's a very nice boy. And I feel like the NHL is a real tough place, and I don't know what their expectation of him was, but I think that the comments made me feel like they didn't feel like he had the grit to be successful. And whether that was true or not, he wasn't going to get the opportunity. Every time he came up, he got points. There was Montreal, and I thought he played pretty well in LA, but he didn't stand out as a difference maker at those levels. And I think the feeling was, this guy's got to be top 2 for us to play him. He's got to be top 6 player. And they didn't feel like, for whatever reason, that he fit in that way. And I think he's a nice kid. And I think that that's what people feel like. Yeah, he's kind of soft. But you look, he's in Texas Stars right now. So he's over in Austin playing. Maybe I should go watch him. Will they let me in? I don't know if they will. Yeah, they should let me in now. So he's got like 11 points in 18 games in the AHL. I think I love what Zed said. He had a great shot. He was like 6'2", maybe 6'2 and a half, like lanky, kind of good skater. You really thought like this could do something. But at the same time, you look at his points. He was like about 82 points in 68 games with us, right? So you would have wanted more. And I think that was the thing with him. You always wanted more. And it just didn't kind of get over that hump. And I think that catches up to you a little bit.
Is it happened to the player like him, like they play only one area, like a one way, like a one side? He didn't ever learn to play maybe on defensive side, or maybe on the two ways play, on the two ways. Because I'm sure he's not on. I know every time you talk right now, I'm just thinking about Kalchinak, because he started tonight on the second line with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, I saw that.
You know what I mean? So he started with Montreal, and then he went to Minnesota, he went to Pittsburgh, and he did like, I think, 19 right now. But again, another chance right now. And I'm curious to see how can, this is over after that. He can, you know what I mean? Now you play with it.
It's a very different thing going on with Galchenyuk. I don't think Nikita I would lump in with Alex. Alex has a very, how do I put it, domineering father that's still actively involved in what he's doing, and it's a problem. He's a man, and he's got his dad on the ice in Arizona this year screaming at him. That's not Alex. That's not Nikita. I think Nikita was a nice guy that maybe they were looking for him to lead through his offense and his skill. And to your point, I don't know if he was negligent defensively, but that's not his game, right? And so if you're going to be in the top 6 in the NHL, you better have an impact consistently. And I think they just felt that he didn't always show up that way. And that was kind of the rumblings I heard in LA, and then I heard it come out of like some of the people we know in Montreal. But I like him. I hope he gets another shot and maybe catches on somewhere, but it's tough. I mean, the numbers are kind of against him at this point.
Well, I would say too, it's funny. Coach brought up Galchenyuk. I mean, can that guy go from one pressure cooker to another? So he goes from Montreal, that media is all over you wherever you go, and now he goes into Toronto, which is probably just right. Like it goes. There's no off day for that kid, right? In Montreal or Toronto. So, I mean, man, he's got, like you said, this does feel like last chance you in a sense. Like
one of the KHL.
He's going to go top 6 for the Leafs, and feels like for the Leafs that they got 2 weeks before the trade deadline to see if this guy's the answer. If not, they'll go find somebody else. So, yeah, I'd be curious. Those two are great examples. What happened? 2 real skilled guys. I have no idea. I'd love to know the answer.
I think both of them were affected in a different way. One was not a personal character issue necessarily, but I don't feel like Alex is his own person. I feel like he's got someone else in his life that is impacting what he's doing, and I don't see that changing. Like I just saw him in Arizona with the dad's on the ice, and everybody's commenting in the arena, but I was screaming at this guy. Like, who is that? That's his dad on the ice with Alex.
And also his sister lived with him in Montreal. So he learned a lot quickly the Christian Street over there. So he was a guy who was more good with his elbow up, but on the white part sometimes. But at the end of the day, it's not help for sure. And I think you're absolutely right. I think they gave they tried Jimmy VC. VC is out. Now they tried Kelchinek, does not work. Now they may be looking for someone else after that. Now Toronto struggled for the last 5, 6 games, 7 games maybe. But now they bring back tonight Wayne Simons. Yeah, we'll see how they look like with him tonight also. But again, and I'm not sold me to have Joe Thornton first line at 42 years old to play 20 minutes, everything like that. It is not. So for me,
he plays such a fast game, Pierre. Like I think his body, you can see he's faster than I've ever seen him. That ain't gonna work with that body, man. He's gonna like tear down. He's skilled still, right? Like it's good to see that, but I don't think the long haul it's gonna work.
I think for the Leafs, like you said, Coach, about getting Simmons back is huge. They need that guy on the 3rd, 4th line. They need a net front presence for me when I watch, especially their second unit power play. Having that net front presence from Simmons that he can just cause some loose pucks, get some pucks there. I think he'll be the big answer for me, I think.
Absolutely right. Look, Corey Perry does for Montreal.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, like it's the same typical job when Simon will going to do for Toronto, what Montreal does. Like Perry, he just sit there. He don't go nowhere. And look, Patrick Orvis for Florida Panthers. Orvis have 11 goals. 9 of them is just trashy goal because he stayed there. Nobody move him because he's too big. So that's unique, that kind of player. I don't see other than him. Little bit typical Hyman sometime in front of the net, but we don't have anybody else over Wayne Simons can do that kind of dirty job. And you need some kind of player. Every team should have a player like him in the team. If you don't have him, anybody like this, it's very hard after that. You have to have a Ovechkin or Stamkos or something like that, or a great sniper left side or right side. If not, you're going to have a hard time to produce in power play.
Yeah, you're right, because it's Hyman. You watch when somebody's not going, what does Sheldon Keefe do? He usually puts Hyman there to get him going, right? Like
everything.
Warner and Matthews aren't getting the opportunities. Hyman goes there, gets him the puck, does all the dirty work to do it. 100%. Those are glue guys.
Yeah.
They're guys that you need to help a line get going and for you to win a playoff round. 100%. Simmons, Hyman. I like the way those guys are doing. And you brought up Corey Perry. Look what Corey Perry did in that bubble last year for Dallas.
He's a pain in the ass.
You know, like
He's such a ratty guy. But
yeah. Or Dustin Brown for the Kings this year is on scoring. And what does he do? He stands in front of the net, takes abuse, and gets pucks in the net.
Yeah,
right? That's got to get greasy goals.
It's funny you mentioned at the beginning because Michael said, yeah, Geslav is not this, and then you bring to be, he's very smart. And you see Perry sometimes, he makes some move, unbelievable, like you never see before. Like the kid, you know, whatever, he's 35 years old, 36 years old, he's still able to do many, you know, he have a great hands, everything like that. So you never lose that kind of, the tools you have in your toolbox, whatever you're 34, 38 years old in NHL. And I think, you know, I think he is who he is right now. And I think he can bring he's already 5 goals, 5 assists. Like Dallas has scored 5 goals all year long. This year, have 5 with Montreal already. And he missed a couple of goals he could score. So really interesting about that.
Corey Perry is calculating how to be the most annoying player in the
for sure
most important spot in the world. And he's always plotting ways to make you angry.
You know what? You talk about this. That's maybe why Islander is going to struggle when they lost Ender Lee, because Ender Lee does that kind of job for Barzal and Eberle. Now they don't have anybody can pick it up what Ender Lee he does for that line. And that really believe they will maybe struggle a long term for the next 10, 20 games.
I mean, they lost 2 in a row now. I think they lost 4-3 last night. Yeah. Now, the good news is Wahlstrom scores yet again. So Wahlstrom has arrived. However, he is not Anders Lee.
No.
We're counting on Wahlstrom as the second line, which would be great. Like if he goes in there and he does what he does, which is he's a big guy, he can shoot the puck, he'll replace the production, but he's not going to replace Anders Lee. Anders Lee is a monster in an area that attracts a lot of attention. And so I agree with you, Pierre. I think it's going to be pretty tough to impossible to replace him. But I believe in Barry Trotz. He'll figure a way to overcome it. Hey, let's do a quick lightning round of games last night and just get your quick reaction, coaches. Zed, first of all, thank you so much for joining us. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you.
And we love having you on. So anytime you want to come back, and if you want to invite someone else, let us know. We'd be happy to take a nomination. All right, first game, quick comments on. I don't know if you guys saw this. New Jersey beats Pittsburgh 3-2 last night. Jack Hughes scores the first goal. Actually, a pretty nice goal. That was a pretty crazy goal. Did you see this, Pierre? What do you think?
Jack Hughes, yeah. Piquet Subban scored another one on power play, by the way, for the Devils. This is schedule. This is like, Pittsburgh been for 8 games straight, and now they're going down for the last 2 games. It's so hard to get to be consistency all year long. That's usually, the first win of the last.
They're 9th or 10th of the year.
What they won 2 the last something, but again, who was the goaltender?
I was just gonna say. So my Scotty Wedgwood again. I told you, Pierre. Like this guy will steal friggin' games. Like I've known Scott since he's 13, and he's just that mentality, and he never quits. Like he's not 92 Zed, so he's coming along late, but 40 shots.
Yeah.
And he's had 2 shutouts in 6 games.
I think Pittsburgh's they're kind of on I feel they're a teeter-totter. Which way are they going to go at the trade deadline? It's tough. This is a tough spot, I think, for Burke and Ron Hextall. What do you do with an aging core? Are they going to get in a playoff spot? Will they do anything? I think they're going to be fascinating to watch here. What happens with them here in the next couple weeks, especially.
I agree.
No, you're missing Malkin. They're missing also Zucker. Zucker. So that's not helpful.
If Malkin is healthy or even close to healthy, and Crosby, you go for it, because you never get that combination again in the world. And we've seen if Malkin's healthy, that team can go as far as they want. And that's always been the issue. If they don't, it's because Malkin's been hurt, not Crosby.
For sure. Yeah.
All right, let's go to the second game. Buffalo continues their downward spiral, guys. 13 in a row now or 14?
I think it's 13.
13.
Yeah, so
They would have been too.
I don't know. I've been highly critical of them the last 4 weeks.
I just want to mention about that game. David Krejci got his 700 point NHL, and I really believe he never got credit. Like he's always been Parsnak and Bergeron and Martian, but they never talk about David Krejci. I think he's always been a great hockey player in NHL. They never deserve what he did for behind those players. So
very, very underrated. What do you think?
100%. Hey, one thing I got to say with Buffalo, is there a team in the NHL with more talent to do less right now? I don't know what's happened there. I know Eichel's hurt. I know Allmark's hurt, and they've lost 2D now. I kind of cheer for them now just because they're so bad. They shouldn't be. There's so much talent there. Yeah, I don't know. They're, with Eichel, I know everyone's talking about tearing it down. I personally wouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, Eichel's only a young guy. What I would try to do is try to do some changes in the summer and see if there's any hope for that team next year with a new coach and just see and then you change. But I think it's too early to pull. It's been 10 years on a constant rebuild.
Ridiculous.
Can't keep happening.
It makes no sense.
I have an answer for you. I could be wrong all the way. And maybe, both of you work for the Everett Silvertips. And, I think I was impressed by Mr. Gary Davidson last week, the kind of person he is, everything like that, right? And over him, I'm sure you have some owners, everybody, and the culture of Everett Silvertips is really great. You know what I mean? My point to you is like the Buffalo Sabre problem is start from all the way to the top. And from the owners, I would put there what is the problem right now. It's not given Kevin Adams. You talk with Kevin Adams. Listen how he talk. You're going to see the guy is a smart man. He know what he does. But over him, the two men, the woman there and the man over there, that's the problem. Because you said on the ice they have the personal, but if you don't have the great culture, brand, everything from the top, go all the way down, that's what you get right now, 13 loss. And you're not going to do, and look, I always refer me for Pittsburgh Steelers or Peter Carroll book where he said, if you don't have consistency in any organization, changing coach every 2-3 years, the GM, it's not going to work anywhere. You never see a team win with the same personnel, a player for many years, a couple of years, the same coaches and the same GM. If you have those new, it's not going to work. So I think the Buffalo problem for me is start all the way to the top.
I mean, I have no firsthand knowledge of it other than when Ryan was there and Ryan wanted out. So I think that says a lot for Ryan O'Reilly to want to leave. And we saw what he did when he went to St. Louis. Like he's all about winning and competing. And I think he was just like, I've lost the joy to play.
Wow. Yeah. So
I mean, he's very intense and hard on himself, but for him to have said that, I was like kind of shocked, so I don't know. There's something weird going on there. I think if the owners are the ones that prevented them from firing the coach after 4 or 5 games, or from getting a goalie, because they had every other piece, like Zed said. Like I look on paper and there's no reason. And I like Ralph Kruger as a person, but obviously that wasn't working last year and it wasn't working this year. So to double down on that made no sense to me. And there's lots of guys that were available that are experienced NHL coaches that would come in and set the culture. We can see a guy like a Barry Trotz does. Even a Bruce Boudreau, who, yes, doesn't have success in the playoffs, but has a tremendous amount of success in the regular season. Bob Hartley, frankly, would go into Buffalo and he would do a bang-up job. We saw what he did when he went to Calgary with a little bit of talent. You give him a team like that, that's a guy that's won a Stanley Cup and he's on the sideline. So there's guys out there that could have an impact. they keep going to this weird well where they go to unproven people. Like,
But you absolutely right, Zed, when you said this team have talent. Remember, like 90s, 70s, when the Washington Capitals, they have no talent there. They win like 8 games per season. Or the Cleveland Barons, or the Colorado Rockies, and the 1976.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They have no talent, so you can do anything. But you have talent on that team.
there's no excuse on that team.
No,
No,
They
I'm
have
with you.
Colleen, they have Ristolainen, they got McCabe on D. They've got on forward like Olofsson. Like, where did this guy come from, Zed? Like,
Yeah.
you watch him, he's a snipe show. He's very talented.
Yeah.
Skinner getting 2 goals. Come on, the guy's capable of at least getting 20, 25.
Well, what does Taylor Hall have right now? 3 or 4? Like, I don't even know.
Like, if you look at the top players, it's ridiculous. Like, you can't have your top players getting 1, 2, and 3 goals at 20, 25 games in the year.
No, I'm with you.
You can say that's on them, but it's also the way they're being directed and used.
Yeah.
next.
Let's do it. Philadelphia comes back and beats the Islanders. I think we talked about the Anders Lee situation. Wallstrom, though, gets his 7th, and I think he scored. Has he got 5 goals in his last 5 games?
Maybe close of this.
Pretty close, right? So that's good news for the Islanders, but it's still not Anders Lee. If they can get him and Kiefer Bellows going, they
breaking news here: the Colorado got Palmieri and Aaron Dell for the New Jersey versus first pick and Ty Lewis.
Oh, wow. What do you think of that, Zed?
Well, they're going for it. Good for them. And you know what? Sometimes it's whoever makes that first trade to get everything going usually wins the draft. Usually wins trade deadline day. I mean, that's a great trade.
I think. Wow. So they give up a first-round pick and who?
Ty Lewis.
Oh, okay. Former LA King.
Mm-hmm.
Louis good. I like him, but he's not Nick Palmieri. Nick Palmieri will go into Colorado, in my opinion, and do a bang-up job. And you talked about getting a left winger, Pierre. That's a guy that can score 30 goals and nobody notices. He's like, he's in the midst of. He's a gritty guy with a good shot. I like that.
I think at that moment for me is more important for me. Palmieri would be good, but I think Dell will fix the second problem because I think without Francouz is out for maybe the rest of the year now. To pick up a second backup is Dell is already experienced in NHL. Is better to miss car already.
Right.
It's a plus right there.
Was this a little bit of a surprise? We said yesterday, never count out Columbus, Pierre, but they win in overtime versus the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah, that's a surprise me honestly. Plus, it was at home. Carolina did not last only 1 game since like February 2020, and they lost now the second game over there. So it's a surprise me a little bit, but you have to give credit to Columbus on that one.
And Seth Jones wakes up. He gets not 1 but 2 goals, including the game winner in overtime.
Yep.
So good for
What's
Columbus.
happened to Patrick Laine? I have him in my hockey pool. It's killing me.
He's killing it, right? He's not doing great.
I don't know what's happened.
I just never thought that was going to be a good fit based upon what you heard coming out of Winnipeg, and then you put him with Torts. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
He's what he is, like he's got some ability, but there's something weird about the Finnish players in the NHL, that group, right? There's some guys that have a little bit of weird, I think they just very, they communicate very stoic way.
Well, he seems to be a square peg in a round hole in Columbus for whatever reason, but it just, it's not working.
I think so.
I apologize. It was a Twitter where someone said a proposal trade, so I apologize on that one.
Well, that would be a good trade. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
It's one person asked this question, so I'm sorry about that.
Oh, I was just checking my phone to see if I wanted to see.
Yeah, me too. I'm checking over people around that part too, and nothing happened. So I apologize.
Tampa beats Chicago. Chicago's been struggling a little bit. I mean, that's a tough game for them. I didn't expect them to win, but they need.
It was 2-2 a long time. They scored the last 2 goals in the last third period, but it was a good performance. It was 2-2. So.
Mm-hmm. Chicago's been a surprise to me. Great goaltending. They've had a lot of injuries, but they seem to keep, they're doing it. So they're a good team.
I mean, this to me has been the biggest surprise is Janmark. I mean, one of the big surprises for them to get that kind of production out of him. Like, when did this guy ever look like he was 10 goal and 30 game guy?
Yeah,
Like
that's
20
impressive.
I mean, he played well for Dallas in the playoffs, but nothing offensive. Does that surprise you, Pierre?
Yeah. This is true. This is real because it's coming from Freeman. So, because you like the Lessons King, they put Amadio. I don't know if you know him on the
Yeah.
waiver list today.
Oh, okay.
With Shepu from Arizona, and User from Buffalo. So this is confirmed. This is true.
Yeah, but it's not as exciting as the other one. I like the other one better.
Yeah, me too.
All right. So the next game after this, we go to Nashville. Were you surprised at this win? We said yesterday Florida should win it, but Nashville can be sneaky, right?
It was all about one player there. It was Saros, whatever his last name, goaltender. He stopped for 40 for 41. It was like a wall. I watched the game. It was like a wall over there. And the second goal, John Kruk scored 7 goals the last 7 games. He is on fire right now. He's straight 7 games. So, but again, the second winning goal, Popovsky and Stillman have a miscommunication behind the net, and the Granlund picked up the puck, sent the puck in front of the net, and Kelly was in front of the net, and Sergey was behind the net. So empty net right there. Boom.
So I find it interesting to me. What did Kalle Järnkrok and Matthias Janmark have in common? They were both drafted by Detroit and let go for nothing.
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, nothing, literally. So it's bizarre to me, but it's unfortunate. Now, that being said, last night, lightning struck, no pun intended, and we were talking about how much the Dallas Stars needed to win this game. But last night, Detroit said, not in my house, and they won their 10th of the year.
I said to you, if the only way Dallas need to make the playoff, they have to win that game over there. If you did not do it, I don't see this team can do that.
No, they look like they're on the outs, after a pretty impressive, maybe surprising playoff run last year. Robbie Fabry gets a hat trick.
No, of course, Seguin, but he's not there. Bishop's not there. Both of them going to be there like the next 3 weeks, but I'm not sure they have the time right now to come back. And,
I don't see it.
The only chance they have right now is the Chicago stand losing, because now they lost 4 to 6 game, I believe, right now. So
good point.
Was Bernier in net again for Detroit?
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. He's had a renaissance there.
Last 2 years, he's been phenomenal.
Yeah.
So how long he's going to be out now? Do you know?
Is he hurt?
Oh yeah, he got removed in the middle of the game.
Oh wow,
I forgot about that part.
Yeah,
not good news. Yeah, he's been carrying that team on his shoulders. Hopefully, this wakes up Greiss a little bit though, because he's a very capable goalie. He got 1 win? I wonder if Greiss got a second win because of that last night, or if that went to Bernier. Edmonton, this is a weird one for me because I did not expect a 2-1 game.
No, when you have Koskinen in the net, you don't expect that at all. Look who scored for the Jets. That give you an idea why they have only 1 goal. So,
Perot?
Yeah, my point to you is like when Sheffield, Wheeler, or Heller, or those 2 top 6 don't score, and that's what's happening there. You know what I mean? But again, I was impressed by the defensive of the Edmonton yesterday. They really gap with Winnipeg. They gave them a lot of chance. If you watch the game very well, but again, McDavid score again. And
does it surprise you to realize that Neil Pionk has 23 points in 30 games?
Well, you have a good year last year, so
he did. I think this is a guy that every time I look, I'm always surprised at what his numbers are. All right, this one I think I was actually surprised at. Was it Kyle Palmieri trade aside? 5-1. I mean, Minnesota's been rolling lately. Have you got to watch them much, Zed?
Yeah, I've watched quite a few. Actually, Minnesota's played the Kings, I think, feels like every second game.
Yeah, you're right.
The thrill is legit in Minnesota.
Yeah, I like that.
But I've watched Colorado lately here, and they seem to have really turned the corner here in the last couple of weeks. I mean, that is an offensive juggernaut, and they seem to be just rolling right now. Even that game in Anaheim where the Mishka got pulled, they were just all over the Ducks. So for me, yeah, Colorado looks legit. The Colorado Vegas is going to be a battle for first in the West there. It's those, and I mean, McKinnon seems to be back healthy, and yeah, like look at that, McKinnon, Rantanen scoring, the Landeskog, they're legit. They're just a deep team.
I mean, again, we were talking about this yesterday. How good is Mikko Rantanen?
Yeah.
I mean, McKinnon today versus McKinnon before Rantanen, he was like a 60-point player, but now he has an elite guy to play with. And I think it raised both their games. Like, I don't know who's a better right winger in the game than this guy.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. He's very good.
All right. So we had one final game or two. We had Arizona and Anaheim, which was interesting because the two kids score. We had a pretty impressive goals from both. And I'm not an Anaheim fan. I'm definitely more of a Kings fan like Zed. But man, that's interesting. It was funny because Pierre and I were talking about, we were looking at what Zegras was doing in the AHL, and I think he had 9 points in 8 games and he got called up. But Drysdale was over a point a game, right? In the AHL as well. And it was like, God, he's got to come up. And look what they do the first game. Like, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, 2 point, one, one goal, one assist. And by the way, because you don't like him a lot, but Rankislav got also 700 points yesterday.
Pierre, he didn't touch the puck.
And what you saw him like right display, he did this for Team Canada. See his movement backwards, crossover as a defenseman. That's what that's special. Not many people can do that. You can see quickly, keep the control of the puck at that young age. That's that's not many can do that. That tools, that skill, backwards, keep your head up, control the puck on your blade, go backwards, crossover.
The confidence.
When I see that, it kind of reminds me of Drew Doughty a little bit. He's got that heads up, smart, and I don't love him without the puck, but when he always has it, you're not getting it back. All right, well, we don't have a trade to report after all, so that's unfortunate. I think that's the last game from yesterday. Zed, thanks for joining us. I don't know, Pierre,
I have a question. I got a request from my phone. People watching the show, they don't go up here, but maybe Zed, you can help me on, but you can help in that person. So you have a kid's play Shadak right now. He's 18 years old. Yeah. The dad is over there with him, everything like that. But my point to you is, didn't have that kind of eyes for any reason. Like sometimes the coach, everything like that, I don't want to go, make an excuse. But his question is it better for him to go another prep school, or it would be better for him to go play junior? When I'm talking about WHL, I'm talking about junior A or something like that.
Yeah. You know what? Here's the thing. I'm a firm believer in go where you're wanted. So saying that, if you're going to go to a junior team or a prep school, go somewhere where that kid's going to have a chance to play. So if he's a top 6 guy, he's got to get top 6 minutes. If he's a third or fourth line kind of guy, embrace that role and go with it. But I think too many times we sometimes are in a hurry to move up, to go up to junior when we're not ready, and that really stunts our growth. I would say for wherever this person's looking, do your research. Find out, do they play the type of game that my son plays? Like we were talking, I think, about Noah Juleson in Florida, or we're talking about Lonnie in Columbus. Lonnie to me is that, like I said, square peg, round hole. So you're basically, the kid's a free agent. So pick a good spot where, one, he's going to get a chance to play. Two, he's going to be seen by people. And you won't be seen if you're a healthy scratch in junior hockey. So I say go somewhere where you're going to play.
That's a good insight because that's what I told them.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's all about development, right? And go play somewhere. He would put your son on the ice. Secondly, it's sad for him. It's a late December. He turned 18 next year, and he's still the baby boom guy. Like he's still framed. Like he's not big enough yet. You know what I mean? Like you don't have that kind of physical. He will because his dad is 6'2". If you tell him that, he grow. But don't have the frame like he should have a frame because he's behind every year because it's December and USA is not like in Canada, so he's late, right? So I told him it's not about the school anymore. It's about where the son can play somewhere to be on the top 6 with ice all the time.
Like, is he getting any interest from NCAA? Like, he's not young, right? Like, you say he's 18 already?
He turned 18 next year. Yeah.
Oh, so he's 17 still.
He still have 1 more year to play prep school. That's why he was this question because do I go to Shattuck, maybe not there anymore, but somewhere else, or can he play in Canada, whatever it is, play junior?
Well, here's a rule of thumb we've always kind of said. For example, like our major midget, which is sort of like U.S. prep school. I always say if you've played 2 years of major midget, it's time for you to move on to junior somewhere. That third year usually is a waste of a year, personally. So for me, is if you've played 2 years of the top midget, doesn't mean first year minor midget or whatever. But if you played 2 years of major midget, I think it's time to move on.
I appreciate it. Yep.
If you're not progressing, then you're regressing.
100%.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate a lot. It was a pleasure to meet you. I will talk about you all day.
Yeah, Zed, thank you so much. I really enjoyed spending time.
Thanks, you guys. That was fun. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.